Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of We Know You Know, a podcast about Psych. I am one of your hosts, Barb.
And I'm the other host, Matthew.
And today we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 9 of Psych. If you're enjoying this show, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends.
Now, we have tons of news. And when I say tons of news, we have a little bit of news, but it's very exciting news.
Right.
Last week, we got a drop about the Psych 3 trailer.
Woohoo!
And by the time you're hearing this, we hopefully will have long released our review on it, our little review on the trailer. It's just a short little video. That is going to be exclusively on YouTube, though. It is a video review where it's just a quick little video of us talking about what we loved about it and wanting to hear your guys' thoughts on the trailer. So definitely check that out. The links will definitely be in the description down below. As a reminder, we do also post all of our podcasts on there. They're not all video podcasts, but they do have little animations on them. If you guys do check out our YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way you can follow us on there. We don't post a lot, so we won't be spamming up your feed. But if we can get a certain number of subscribers, we can get our custom URL name. So it's easier for people to find us. So we appreciate that if you guys use YouTube and want to listen to the podcast on there.
Yes.
And lastly, we got to give a shout out to our Psych Fanatics of Facebook group, as well as our Psych subreddit. Two places that have thousands of fans of Psych, and we go there and post things, and we talk to people there all the time. So if you are from one of those groups listening to the show, thank you so much for coming in and giving us a shot. I hope you're enjoying it, and definitely, if you are enjoying it, why are you not sharing it with your friends?
Exactly.
Thanks for listening. All right, let's get into the show now, Barb. What episode are we on this week? What do we got?
Okay, so this episode is called Bounty Hunters. It originally aired on September 14th of 2007. It was written by a couple of our favorites, Steve Franks and Andy Berman, and it was directed by John Badham. John Badham started directing in 1971. You're going to know him from some really great 80s movies like War Games with Matthew Broderick in 1983, Short Circuit in 1986. Oddly enough, had Ali Sheedy in it, by the way. Stakeout in 1987 with Emilio Estevez. All these Brat Packers were like in a bunch of his movies. He also directed Bird on a Wire in 1990, Point of No Return in 1993, Nick of Time 1995 with Johnny Depp, and then he went on to mostly do TV directing. Shows like The Shield, Crossing Jordan, Heroes, In Plain Sight, Criminal Minds, Supernatural, most recently Siren as well. And he actually directed 6 different episodes of Psych, but this was the first one of the 6. So we've got more coming up from him in future seasons.
And what about the synopsis? What's going on in this week's episode?
This week, Jules accidentally lets a prisoner get away. And in the chief's absence, Jewel and Lassie call Sean and Gus for help finding this guy. A bounty hunter is also on the case, and it happens to be a bounty hunter that Sean and Gus saw as kids outside of the police station. In an effort to be as quote-unquote cool as the bounty hunter, Sean becomes a bounty hunter in his own mind. And they solve the case, they solve an old case, and they help a very distraught Jules in the process.
This is one of those that I vaguely remembered that I got to kind of see all over again and definitely take a closer look at. And I was actually surprised at how much I did enjoy watching this episode.
You're getting ahead, though. You're getting ahead.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. Let's get into the breakdown.
Yeah, start us off here, Matt. What happens?
So we're 20 seconds into this thing. We have our flashback scene with young Sean and Gus. They're outside of the police station, and they see Bird Tatum's. This guy's played by Kevin Sorbo, and he's one of the guest stars, as a bounty hunter bringing in a criminal. And the kids are just in awe. Their ice cream cones are melting in their hand. Their jaws are dropped looking at this guy. They think he's so cool.
Particularly Sean, more than Gus. Like, he is fascinated by this guy, like, to the point that he pictures himself as the bounty hunter, like getting the suspect out of the car in handcuffs and like he's in the clothes and
It
I
was
mean,
a
it
cute
was
scene. It
really
was funny,
cute
yeah.
seeing the young Sean like that. Yeah, it
But
was
Henry
cute.
comes out like he's done with work and he's ready to go home, and Sean makes the mistake of calling the bounty hunter a super cop in front of Henry, and we can clearly see that
Oh,
Henry is annoyed by this. And Sean
big
also
mistake.
cows the when Henry tells him he's not a super cop, he's a bounty hunter, and he's like, "Oh, it's a cop with a cooler name." And then that's when he has his little
Oh,
flashback scene, his imagining himself as a bounty hunter. That was it was a cute little scene, and I definitely loved how
and were there w
that in present time
Go
they
ahead.
see him again. Hasn't aged a day. I do think
Right.
that's kind of funny, and they do point it out though. They do point it out.
It felt like in that scene, if there was any way for Sean to hurt
Oh
his
yeah.
dad, like, you take away the validity of being a cop, and Henry's
Mhm.
like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah, Henry
Anyway.
doesn't like it. He definitely doesn't like it, and you can see it in his face.
Mhm.
He's holding back his
Oh,
frustration.
yeah.
But we're back in present time now. Lassie's giving a briefing in the entire department, or to the entire department, about Dwayne Tancana, who is a wanted criminal for the murder of Isabella Cole. And he's been in and out of jail and supposedly killed her during the robbery. We find out that he escaped while in police custody, and Juliet is to blame for it. She let her guard down, she made the wrong choice, and he essentially got away on her watch. So she has her little moment of shame in front of the department where she takes ownership of it, which is good. But Lassie goes into cover for her, which I like. He like jumps onto it.
Yeah, but didn't you think that was cool? Like, he I thought it was so cool that he was
Yes.
covering for her. Like, he
So
didn't want her to
so
have that
Lassiter
embarrassment.
mentioned that
I
he has
love that.
escaped police custody, and one of the other cops in the precinct says, like, "How did he manage to escape?" And then he tries to cover for Juliet by like kind of jumping on her, like, That's a dumb question. We're trying to find him. Let's focus on trying to find him." And Juliet takes ownership of it. So I thought it
Yeah.
was really cool on both parts.
I did too until a little bit
Yeah.
later. But for right now, I was
Mhm.
really proud of Lassie. I was like, "Good for you. Looking out for your
During
partner."
the briefing that he's giving, we can see Bird and Cole, Mr. Cole, in the conference room. Mr. Cole is the victim's husband, and after they lost the suspect, he hired Bird as well as put out a $50,000 bounty on her. So, bounty
Mhm.
hunter's on the case. Naturally, he's here for the money.
Yeah, I loved though Lassie made very
Mhm.
sure. He made very sure to tell him, "This is our case. Don't get you stay out of our way," kind of a thing. He was trying to hold his own against the bounty hunter.
Yeah, Lassie doesn't like
I
him.
thought he did
Yeah,
good.
he's not a fan of bounty hunters. Him and Henry
No.
agree on the same on that point. Here's where the other uncool
Mhm.
thing happens. We're 3 minutes 30 seconds in, and after the briefing, we have a moment where Lassiter is telling like Juliet what the next step is, and Lassiter sidelines Juliet. The chief is out of town, and he feels it's the right thing to do, and kind of like to leave her
It
at the
made me so
station and
mad.
let her do like busy work there while they're out doing the search.
I was so mad. I was like, "You turned that around real quick. You had her back, and then now you're telling her she can't even leave the office."
But
I was
I
mad.
do kind of like their relationship here where he kind of gives her some leeway and he sees her as like a respected person because she kind of like pushes him into calling Psych and he does do it. He doesn't just tell her no and like
Yeah.
sternly walk away. He does end up calling Psych
Yeah.
and there's a little, tit for tat with them like, "Oh, I thought you said to call. Oh, you didn't want to call? Oh, he's here. Talk to him." And they kind of just got him on the phone real quick, but I did like the little their camaraderie even in that little tiny scene.
I do.
Mhm.
I'll agree with you there.
Let's see here. Next, we're about 4 minutes 25 seconds in. We have Sean and Gus. They see Bird in the conference room, and Gus says, "He looks exactly the same as when we were kids." And I thought this was really funny, as I kind of mentioned before. I was thinking it's kind of like a fourth wall breaking, like meta comment. Like they are pointing out the continuity error of how he hasn't aged a day in like 20 years. So I thought that
Mm.
was kind of funny. But next we have
Yeah, so they're in there. I do wanna say, like, they've done it again here, and I'll be honest with you, this is something I never really noticed before when I was watching this show, but breaking it down, really, I would encourage anyone to try and break it down because when you do, you notice a lot of stuff. But this, it was interesting. They've done it again by putting Sean and Gus in the same clothes that they had on in the
Mhm.
kids scenes.
Oh, really?
And
Oh, yeah, I guess
yes,
so.
every single time that makes me crack up. I love when they do that.
That
It's
goes right
so
over my
cute.
head every
It's so
time.
cute.
I know even after talking about it
Well,
with you and I know that they do it, I miss it every time.
well, I personally think it's so funny. This is also where Lassie tells them don't have any physical contact. Like he's worried about them. Don't have any physical contact. And he puts his hands up to make a scale of where they fall. And he has his hands up and he says, cops are up here and bounty hunters are down here. And right above them are
Yeah,
psychics.
by a knuckle. Mhm.
It made me laugh.
Yeah. So, Sean has his little moment of victory, and him and Gus are excited and do a little jig, like, "Oh, hey, we're better than bounty
I do
hunters! Yes!"
I do like that he followed it up with where are orthodontists on this scale. I
Mhm.
thought that was funny.
But
Anyway, I used to work in for an orthodontist, so those jokes about ortho make me laugh. Anyway, go
mhm.
ahead. Go ahead.
Sean, about 5 minutes, 30 seconds in, and Sean asks before he leaves, after he's been brought into the case, Sean distinctly asks Mr. Cole if the $50,000 bounty is exclusive to Bird. And it is not, and the guys are excited. But Sean is also excited because he is in love with Mr. Cole's hair, specifically the product he uses. When he was in there, he smelled ginger blossoms, which is apparently indicative of a super special hair product called kangaroo paste. And you can only get it in Australia, and Sean's been trying to get some for a long time.
I do like when he says, "My hair's hungry for it,
hmm
Gus."
this one had a bunch of little tiny little quips, in my opinion. It had a bunch of little tiny small nothing
Yeah.
like it wasn't anything that made you necessarily roll over, double over laughing, but there was lots of little playful moments that were all sincere to, in my opinion. And I just love those. It's that good
I
flow
agree.
between all the characters where they make jokes, but it's still got consistency.
Well, this is where Sean gets just so happy with himself because he goes in and tells Lassie he's got himself a couple of bounty hunters. I really think he just wanted to call himself that. Like he just
It was
really
like
wanted to
episode
say
7
that he was
whenever
a
they were at
bounty
the school
hunter.
and he like wants to be called sensei. He just loves the
Yeah.
opportunity to do something like silly and new.
Yep. He's like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
make it happen. It's gonna happen
But there
somehow.
was
It
some
was funny.
like some funny little interaction. So in this scene, Sean and Gus get to meet their childhood hero, Bird Tatum, the bounty hunter, and they have this little interaction where it's like Sean says to Bird, "Hey man, remember us? We had a moment once when we were kids," and Bird says, "Bird says no," and then Gus says, "But you winked at us," and Bird says that was probably involuntary. I have a blepharo spasm in my right eye. Ignore that pronunciation. But I did look it up, and
We'll try.
I did look it up. They did use the correct term. Eye twitching, blepharospasm is a neurological disorder affecting the muscles controlling your eyelids. It starts off as an itching and can progress into not being able to open your eyes anymore, which is a little scary. But I did like that they actually gave it they used the actual name for it and didn't just say it was like a twitch. So, but that was a funny little thing that they put in there. It's just one of those weird little traits of for like this character that has like really no other purpose other than just a few comedic points where people think that he's like winking at them. So I think that was a cool little thing to put in there.
Very cool.
We're about 7 minutes in now, and Gus tries to play nice with their childhood hero, and he finds out he's not that nice. They're not big fans of Bird, and he wants this, and we also find out that Bird wants this to be his last job, which is kind of the reason why he's being a little bit rude here and telling him to stay out of his way. He wants the
Mhm.
50K, and then he wants to retire. And my first instinct was, that's not that much money to retire on, and I'm not sure what his plans are to be able to retire on 50K.
I think that it was like that he's built up money and he needs this to go with it.
Some, yeah. But 24 seconds later, he kind of answers it, and he says they put a down payment on a bar in Key West. So I kind of jumped the gun there, but
Okay.
I left it in just because I was dumb. I was expecting it to be something
I did
unexplained, and then they explained it.
I did kinda think it was funny that he called them
Oh
peons,
yeah, no,
like, several
I made a
times in
note
the
about that
episode.
too. Wherever it is,
He did it again later. He did it again later, but this was the first time he did it. He called them peons right there. I was like, "Really?
and
Wow,
Gus made a joke
that's
as
pretty
well.
bad."
And whenever he was talking about the bar in Key West, and he's like, "Who are your partners, Tango and Cash?" And it was one of those moments where like nobody else laughed, but Gus cracked himself up.
Gus thought it
Hmm.
was very
It's such a
funny.
Gus joke too.
Mhm.
But the
Uh-huh.
next thing we have is all right. So after Bird gets a little snippy with them in this little interactions, Sean decides to like chain lanes, and he's like, just because we didn't go to the costume shop and pick up a bounty hunter's wrist bracelet and accessories kit, doesn't mean we won't bring him in a big way. And Bird finishes. He has a little retort, and then he finishes it up by showing his bracelet and saying, "These don't come in tiny." And then after he walks away, Sean gets his little thing in there. He's like, "So we'll just get a women's large. That's whatever."
Gus
Classic.
goes, "I think I hate that guy." And Sean's like, "That's the way it usually is when you meet your childhood heroes, like, it's
Hmm.
disappointing when you
Yeah,
meet them."
but that
Like,
was just one of those
yeah.
classic little scenes I really enjoyed.
Yeah. "We'll just get the
Hmm.
woman's large."
Let's get a women's large.
Like, he never would have said that to the
Oh
guy's
god, I
face.
wish they had behind the scenes footage for these. I so would love to like
I
seen like the
know.
direction and how they got these and like bloopers reels and stuff for these. And I don't think they have them until the later seasons.
Yeah.
Ah, the one good thing of
I
digital,
don't know, we'll have to do
the
a
one good
deep
thing of
dive.
digital recording instead of like film stuff is that they have like
Mhm.
all tons and tons of digital footage now. One other thing that is noted here, or that's worth noting here, is that after Bird walks away, the guys do specify that they do want to do this for Jules. They want to do this to like get her mojo back and to kind of like get her out of the hot water. So I thought that was a cool thing to remember that they did.
Yeah, and then they actually show Jules, she's, like, sitting there timing herself, disassembling and assembling her gun, and she says it's to, like, calm anxiety, it's, like, something that they taught them in the
Field stripping.
academy, but
Mhm.
I think she's kinda doubting herself as a cop too at this
That's the
point. I mean,
theme.
like, she's
She's
just
having a
not
hard time
yeah,
with
she's just
publicly
not
messing
feeling
up like
right.
this, and I think this is
Yes.
a little. This is like a little introduction to that theme for her, but like later on, it does expand.
Yeah, and Sean really wants to help her,
Mhm.
it's kinda yeah, anyway.
The guys are watching footage now. When they're with Jules, Jules is also like looking up old footage of it, of him escaping. And when they watch the footage of him escaping, Sean does recognize that he has a medical alert bracelet on. And when he confers with Jewel about this, she notates that he has a heart condition, and this will be useful to them like later on whenever they hunt him down. They also find out that his cousin works in town at a local diner, so they have their first clue, and they have some direction now for the investigation.
Well, and when they're walking away, Sean puts his hand on her shoulder, like, you get like, he just feels so bad for her,
Hmm.
it's so sweet. It's so sweet. Yeah, anyway. You know I get lost
Oh
in that
yeah,
part of this,
especially. Mm,
'kay? Yeah. I
uh-huh.
know, you don't
All
have to
right,
say
yeah.
it, just
All
wait,
right.
just wait, just wait. Alright, so go ahead, Matt.
Did you see my notes for that part?
I did. Was there
All right, we'll get there. We'll get
We'll
there.
clue you guys in, we'll clue
All
you
right,
guys
so
in
9
later.
minutes 45 seconds in. You guys go the guys go to the diner. All right, so 9
Mhm.
minutes 45 seconds in, the guys follow up on their investigation by going to the diner to see the cook who's his cousin, Tancana's cousin. And one thing while they talk to him, they're not really getting anywhere with him, but they do notice that he's making egg whites, and like a greasy spoon like this, it doesn't make sense. And Sean is able to look around the room, see the different people, what condiments they're holding, what like and kind of determine what food on the grill is for them. And he comes to the conclusion that that egg white omelet is for someone with a heart condition like Tankana, and Tankana's probably on the premises. And he is like trying to get Gus to, help him like walk in on a possible murderer and try to grab him bounty hunter style. And like they're over there arguing for like a minute. And while they're arguing, Bird like runs into the door, jumps over the counter, plows through the back looking for him. Tankana escapes through like this little side door, runs through the front of the diner, and Bird jumps over, pushes him onto a table, gets into a little altercation, leads to a headbutt, which this guy is kind of famous for at this point because that's how he got out of Juliet's
Mhm.
hands, is by headbutting her. And he runs out the door. When after he runs out, the guys run out to try and like get away from the situation. That's when we find out that Tankana has escaped into the back of their car, and he kind of surprises them after they already are in there.
Okay, so can we back up just a minute? First of all, one thing that was funny to me is when Sean and Gus were arguing about going into the employee room of the diner because they had seen the shadow, like they knew he was in there. And Gus goes,
She's like, "We're bounty hunters. This is what we do."
Gus goes, Gus goes, I am not a bounty hunter, Sean. I am a pharmaceutical sales rep. He was so
Hmm.
serious.
Yeah. And then when they're in the car was when I was
The
dying.
look on his no, the look on his face was like, I'm not going back there. I'm not going back there. I'm not going back there.
I liked the part in particular that when they were in the car. So the guys run out and hurry into their car, and
Okay.
then they're surprised by Tankana, who has jumped into the back seat. And then they take off driving,
Right.
leaving Bird behind. And Bird's like chasing the blueberry out of the parking lot, but they take off. And
Uh-huh.
Sean has a particular quote that I love. It's at 11 minutes 44 seconds, and he's like, "Dude, we're like the best bounty hunters ever. The criminals come straight into our car, already cuffed." This was such a great scene that somebody wrote, that like Bird would come
Yeah.
in, arrest him, he would escape, hide in their car, and then set Sean up for this amazing line. Like, we're the best bounty hunters
Yeah.
ever. They're already cuffed.
This whole scene was good because I really like what happens next too.
I just really enjoyed that.
I love what happens next when Sean introduces him.
Yeah, after the hype is kind of down now, Bird isn't following them. They're just driving. Like, he says he's going to take him to the police station, and Tankana is kind of like Tankana's about to plead his case, but first they make their character
Mhm.
introductions. And Sean is like, "This is my
Mhm.
partner, Galileo Humpkins." And then Gus is happy that Sean for once did not use his real
He
name. Yeah.
actually says it.
Yeah.
He
What?
actually says it, "For once, I'm glad you didn't use my real name."
And I love this name, this Galileo Humpkins name. I love this one. This is another one of those really good ones.
I forgot about it though. It was a good one though.
While they're doing their little domestic dispute, they all Sean also like leads with, "Well, like, tough luck on you. We're bounty hunters and we're taking you to the cops." And whenever he says they're bounty hunters, Tankana kind of like giggles in the back seat. Nobody believes they're bounty
'Cause they
hunters.
just so don't fit
Yeah.
that profile. Yeah, they don't fit that profile.
But Tankana, in an effort to try and save himself from getting taken right back to the police station, is trying to convince the guys that he didn't kill anybody and that he is just a thief. He says he has a partner on this one, a guy named Gore Delvecchio, and uh, he was supposed to break into the basement while Delvecchio was supposed to be upstairs and like robbing the joint. And
Yeah, like, all he was there to do was disarm the alarm. Like,
right,
that was his job. He didn't he said he never
and the
even
woman
saw
was
the
killed on
woman.
the second floor, and he never went up there.
Right.
And Sean believes him, and Gus can tell from his face that they're going to be
Mhm.
working on a case on Tankana's side, and he's not happy.
And he's
No,
not real
he's
happy
not.
about it.
Later on, after the scene, we're
Mhm.
back at the police station, and Bird has an ice pack on his head, and he's talking to Lassie and Jules about it, and he's like, like Tankana got away. They drove off in an Echo, a little blue toy car, and I like that he
Well, right away, like,
yeah.
answers the
Hmm.
phone.
And Sean calls in, and Lassiter and Jules tell him to bring Tankana in. Jules and Sean are talking on the phone now, and Sean plays it up. This was another one of those little tiny, like, funny scenes that I loved. And he's like, "Admit it, you're a little turned on by the bounty hunter thing, aren't you?" And like Jules doesn't say anything this entire time. And she's like, "Sean Spencer, bounty hunter. I mean, I know the psychic thing is sexy, that's a given, but bounty hunter, it's it's hot." And Julia, it just like hangs up. And while he's doing this little line, Tankana rolls his eye, and Gus is like smirking, like, "Oh, he's hitting on Juliet again."
Also, on that phone conversation, Sean tells Lassie, like, all you can hear is Sean, and he says, "Yes, I do know what uncertain terms are. In fact, I had to tell Gus." Like, because at the diner, Gus was like, Lassie said under no uncertain terms. I mean, like, this has been like a running thing. Under no uncertain terms do you make physical
Yeah,
contact with this guy." So, he
I
said, "I
just
had
love
to
that
tell
scene though.
Gus."
He's like,
I thought it was cute.
"Admit it, you're a little turned on by the bounty hunter thing, aren't you?" Sean Spencer, bounty hunter. I mean, I know the psychic thing is sexy. That's a given, but bounty hunter, it's hot. Hot.
Did you happen to notice that Sean is, like, all about juice today? Because in the diner, he told Gus that he forgot to
Oh,
drink his
yeah,
courage
it's courageous
juice.
juice, yeah.
And this scene, and in this scene, he tells Lassie that he forgot to drink his
Mhm.
grapefruit juice this morning.
Yep, he does have a bit of a juice thing.
I don't know where that came from, but I noticed that he kept referring to juice. Also, in the car, the whole time they're in the car with this suspect, he has not wiped the ketchup off his nose from when the bounty hunter shoved his face in the cheeseburger.
I
It bugged me the whole
I
time. I
saw
was like,
that,
"Dude, can you
and I
wipe it
wasn't
off your
sure if I
nose?"
was just, like, seeing, like, a weird shadow or something. Okay, he did have ketchup on his nose, okay. Or I thought it
He
was,
had
like, a
ketchup on his
birthmark or
nose the
something. I
whole time.
didn't know if it
Like,
was, like, real.
no, like, why would you not have wiped
I
it
mean,
off?
he was in a hurry.
I don't know. I'm like, "You're just sitting in the car with ketchup on your face?" Like, I don't know. Anyway, I wanted it wiped off. It bugged me the whole time.
But it's
Anyway.
16 minutes, we're at the police station, they got the call that the guys are outside, and when the police actually come out, Sean and Gus are tied up or, handcuffed to the Blueberry, and Tankana has escaped. The guys, they did talk to Tankana, though, when he was in the car, and they did get their next clue, that, their buddy lived in a certain area, like, near the pier. 17 minutes, 15 seconds in, this is when the guys head out to Tankana's friend's place to investigate. Tankana kind of dropped some hints on where this was, and it actually ended up being a houseboat on the water. Fun fact, the houseboat,
As most houseboats are.
it could have been docked, Barb. It could have been docked. It was on the
It would still
water,
have been
though.
in the
No, it
water.
was on the water. You still understand nautical
Okay.
terms, okay? Um,
I'm sorry.
the
Go
guys head
ahead.
out to the boathouse. Fun fact: the houseboat is actually the HMNZS Tarapunga, which is a decommissioned 1980 New Zealand military vessel, which was an Amazon fun fact on the episode.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought it
Interesting.
was a weird little bit on there.
Very
Sean
cool.
asked Gus to, so they're on a little dinghy. They're on Henry's little fishing dinghy, and they go out to this
Mm.
rather large houseboat, and they pull up behind it, and Sean reaches over and asks Gus to hand him the rope, presumably to tie off the boat, but he doesn't.
Yeah. They find this guy again too. It's almost too easy.
It's
Like,
only because though
I it
he gave them a hint. Like he told him he's on the pier and then just like right past the
right,
pier.
right, right, right.
And so I mean the cops didn't talk to him. They don't know where he is. So yes and no.
But there's no other little boat around the big boat. So, like, how did
I
he
mean
get
the
there?
ocean is rather
Did he
large. I know you're
swim?
not familiar with nautical like information, but the boat is rather large, or the ocean is
Wow.
rather large.
I am familiar with nautical information, but I just I thought, we'd see something because he had to leave the boat at some point too. I don't
Either
know.
way,
I found that
they
weird that there
did
wasn't
find Tancan on
anything.
the
I
boat,
mean,
and he comes out with like this like I guess like a billy club almost that's used for like killing fish, and it's a tense scene where he comes out and he's like, I didn't do it. I'm not gonna go back to jail until I figure out what happened here and clear my name. And Sean and Gus are there, and Sean is like, okay, so why don't you put down the fish bunker? You're making Gus very nervous. And then they offer to investigate and help him. And I just love that little scene because Tankana kind of really he vibes
Mhm.
pretty well with them, and he kind of gets them.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed them like being all, a like a triple partnership this time.
I think I think he's
Yeah,
getting a kick out of them.
he likes their
Like, it's
silliness.
entertaining almost.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But Sean in this scene has new glasses, which I love. They're not dorky
finally.
and like looking like old lady glasses, so I thought that was cool.
So much
And
better.
he
So
does
much
get a few
better.
more clues. So first, they find some torn up money bands for thousands of dollars, and they found a dead cell phone from presumably Del Vecchio, as well as a piece of jewelry that belonged to Mrs. Cole. And Sean recognized that because of the unique shape of the jewelry. It was pressed into Mrs. Cole's neck whenever she was strangled, and it left a mark. So he was able to tie that to her. So they are starting to piece this thing together and figure out a little bit at a time here.
Bird is back and he's trying to get to the boat. He's got a shotgun with him. He is mad as he can be. He gets onto the side of the boat actually, and Sean is trying to figure out a way to get rid of him, and he puts the throttle in the boat forward and like knocks him right off the boat. Everyone goes flying. He goes off and Bird goes off into the water, so they think they have this chance to escape, but didn't go so
Yeah,
well.
they rush back to their dinghy and it's gone. Gus is furious that Sean asked for the rope but didn't tie it up. Which I totally vibe with Gus on this one. But then
Yeah.
Bird then comes from the second story of the boat from the front side somehow. I'm gonna call that a continuity error. But he winks at them before taking aim with a shotgun. Tankana notices it. He's like, "Did he just wink
Mhm.
at us?" And then they climb over like the rail and like dive into the water.
This is the worst scene
It
in the show.
is. So
You can see the stunt people. You can tell that it's not
there
them.
was
It's
lots of stuff.
very clear and very obvious that it was not them. I mean, like, particularly as they're going into the water, like, it's a totally
Yeah.
it's not them.
So this
It's not them.
scene, the jumping off the boat scene had lots of issues with it. So first, those are clearly stuntmen, like you mentioned. All three of them are clearly stuntmen, and you don't even need to
Yeah.
pause it to see that none of them are the real people. I hate the way the
Mhm.
camera work was done on this, the way that it looks, because the camera style changes.
Yeah.
There's like this like grain or different, I don't know, different lens. Something about it is different.
Well, they were trying to make it less
Well,
obvious.
I don't.
So they made the screen
That's
not quite as
not quite it.
clear, and then it got all
That's not quite
slow.
it.
I
This
don't
was
know.
actually
It was
this slow
slow.
motion jump was an homage to The Fall Guys, which was a movie from 1981,
Oh,
and we'll talk about that later on.
okay,
But this was a homage
okay,
specifically to that.
okay.
Also, whenever you see Tankana like start to climb up and he turns around, you can totally see his microphone pack and like the wire coming out of it from like when his shirt pulls up. So yeah, it
Sloppy, it was
was a bit of a
sloppy.
sloppy scene, but I'm assuming that they just wanted to have
I
fun with it.
I
So they just kind of it was
yeah,
a
but I
poor
mean,
camera
you
angle when you have all
okay.
stuntmen facing the camera. Like,
Well, like, even when it was on the side, it was very clear that that was not James Roday's profile, like, it was just very, very,
I took
very,
a
very
screenshot of
clear.
it and it
They
kind of looks like if I posted just a screenshot, it kind of looks like a fan film or something. Like somebody else is like, "We're gonna remake this scene."
it's yes! That is
Yeah.
exactly it. I was very disturbed by this scene. I was like, "Seriously? Did they just try to pass them off like that?" Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I get that they're recording these and, like, editing them within a week, and it's like it's not a long process recording these shows. I mean, I do recognize that, and I'm gonna give them that benefit of the doubt a little bit, but they could have done better with this. They could have either filmed it from farther away so you couldn't tell, or maybe not gone quite as slow, because when they slowed it down so much, you could see in every frame that it wasn't them. It was
Mhm.
very bad. It was very bad. Just that, yeah, they could have done so much better with this. Shame on them. I'm like, it's a
Yeah.
demerit.
After this
So now
whole
we're at
boat
22 minutes,
debacle,
15 seconds.
we're back at the police station, and no, we're at the
No, we're
diner.
not.
Okay.
No, we're not.
All right. So after the whole boat debacle, the guys go back to the diner where they actually first ran into Tankana, and Juliet's there, and she's having a very hard time dealing with it, with the whole thing of being responsible for losing this, possible murder suspect, and she's just kind of like staring off into the to nothing, and she has like all the case files in front of her, like she's trying so desperately to find something, and she's just having a hard time.
I love this scene though, because clearly you can see that she sort of confides in them and talks to them about how she's feeling. She's like, "Did you guys ever have like an inner voice that guided you to do the right thing, and then one day it's like it wasn't there and you make a mistake that changes your whole life?" And she's really distraught about the whole thing. And I don't know, she has all this evidence laying on the table, and Sean like puts his hand over hers as she's getting ready to leave to go back to the station, and she lets it stay there for a minute. Like, she didn't pull her hand right away. Like, she let it stay there for a minute, which was really, really cute. And then she left all the evidence with them so that they could look at it, which helps them
Yes,
moving
they
forward.
do look, and inside the folder is like documentation of all of Tankana's tattoos, which is something that they do in like prison and jails, just for like different affiliations and figuring out who's
And
right.
identification
Yeah, that too.
purposes.
And they do notice that one of his tattoos says Barb, or at least that's what Gus calls it. And in reality,
Okay, how cool would that have been? Just how cool would that have been as Barb? I mean, not that I would want him to have my name tattooed on him, but that
didn't
would have
think
been
that one
kinda
through
cool.
too much, did you?
Anyway, okay. No. No, but I was like, it's cool, I love
But
Barb,
it
yeah.
says bar 13, and it just was not the best tattoo. But Sean puts that together and he looks it up, and it's a real place, and that's where they head over to. I did notice that when they left here, Sean just like threw the police files back onto the table and just got up and started leaving, and Gus had to like pick them all up and
Yeah.
organize them.
It was like he
Yeah,
was
like he's
gonna
just
just leave
leaving the
him there, he
evidence
didn't
there.
care.
He's like, I don't care about this. Just yeah.
I also like that when they got to the bar, they're walking up. Sean was just walking normal, but Gus was walking like he owned the place. He was, like, so confident, he was doing that little
Mhm.
swaying thing that he does, and you can tell when he does that, something bad's getting about to happen. Something is not gonna be good, because that confidence is gonna be taken away real quick.
I see. I thought it was
It was
nervousness,
it
especially when they
was
start
funny.
talking to the bartender. This scene
Uh-uh.
with them in the bar. So they go up to the bartender and start looking for information, and they're all super confident. And then it immediately changes to them hanging upside down by their feet from like chains, and the bikers are surrounding them, kind of like threatening them. And I thought that this scene was very
Mhm.
interesting. And so with the scene with them specifically hanging by their feet, it looks
Which, by the way, how bad would that suck?
yeah, that would
That
suck.
would suck. All I can think about when I see that in movies or TV shows is, "Oh my god," like, that would make me claustrophobic, like, I
Mhm.
don't think I could do it. Like, not even acting, I don't think I could do it, so
Well, the
bravo to them.
interesting thing
It
was
looks
is I
horrible.
do think that it was them. Like, I did pause it, and it looks like it's them,
Yeah.
who did the
Yeah,
actual
I think so too.
stunt, and I did think it was also cool that they they did lead up to it correctly. Like, when they walk in there, Sean has his shirt tucked into the front of his pants, and I think they did that to cover
Mhm.
up the rig that they were wearing, because, when you pause it, they're not hanging
Mhm.
by their feet. They have a chain wrapped around their feet, like, connected to the ceiling, but if you look at Sean's shirt closely whenever he's hanging and kinda turning, you can see imprints of some sort of, like, harness or rig that's
Oh, like
it's
a
something that
strap?
goes up and
Yeah.
goes over his shoulders so that the pressure is on his shoulders and not on his feet, and, so you can see that,
Okay, yeah.
and presumably the cable went like from the harness on his waist, like up his pants leg, and then kind of probably wrapped around the
Yeah.
chain in some way or went through the center of the chain to kind of conceal it.
Mhm.
But that way, that's a cool way that they do those stunts where they're hanging like that, to where they're not actually in pain or anything
Yeah.
of that nature.
Yeah, it would
But
still
I did
suck.
think it was cool that
It would still suck. All the
they
blood going to your
preemptively
brain,
planned,
no.
because they didn't want his shirt, like, falling up around his head when he was hanging upside down. So when he walked in, they
Well,
tucked his
why
shirt in the front.
look, why couldn't they have given that much thought to the
I don't know,
jumping off
maybe
the
that's
boat?
part of the homage. I haven't seen The Fall Guy, so maybe it's very clearly, like, stuntmen in that movie. But
The more you say that, The Fall
oh,
Guy was a
okay.
TV show, and I do remember watching it, and we referenced it actually, I
Wow,
think last week.
1987, or was it 81? It's a while ago.
Wow.
1981.
I do remember The
Okay.
Fall Guy. It was the same guy that played m uh, the Bionic not the Bionic Man, the, $10,000 Man or something. Um,
$7
oh
million
my
dollar man, I
gosh.
think.
No, 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 no. Um, Lindsay Wagner and was it Lee
Yeah,
Majors?
that's it. Yeah, it was Lee
I think it was
Majors.
Lee Majors. Yes, it was Lee Major look at that, I did that without even looking it up, wow. Anyway, Lee Majors played the Fall Guy, and I remember, my dad watching that show all the time. So, I can kinda remember how, like, there would be, like, music playing, and then it would be, like, a slow motion thing happening. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I still wish they'd given it as much thought.
Mhm.
It's whatever.
But in
You
this
yeah,
scene, when
anyway.
they're hanging upside down, Tankana does come out. He was there, and he tells them that he'll make a deal with them. His friends won't kill them if they decide that they want to instead help him prove that he didn't murder anybody. And Sean agrees to it, but he also adds on to it that he wants that guy's vest, so he can have his own bounty hunter vest. Which
Which was awesome.
it's
When he
so
walked
silly.
out of there wearing that vest, I cannot
Because, like,
even.
throughout the episode, he's
It
like, "Is it
was
because I'm not wearing a
very
vest? Is
funny.
that why nobody thinks I'm a bounty hunter?"
Uh-huh. So he thinks just
Yeah,
that changes him enough. At this point, it's 26 minutes, 49 seconds. We see that Lassie and the other cops are on the boat and the houseboat, and Jules found out that that houseboat is registered to Del Vecchio, and now they know that Tankana is looking
yeah.
for Del Vecchio. So they've kind of put all of this
Mhm.
together a little bit now.
And so Sean and Gus have Tankana, and they're trying to solve his murder while Jules and Lassiter are looking for Tankana. Also, I'm sorry, Bird is looking for Tankana. So they pull up to the psych office. They stash him there in a totally obvious place, but nonetheless, and they see Bird outside waiting for them. And Gus is like, "Where are we gonna go, Sean? We're harboring a fugitive." So they go to Henry's, um, the second most
Of course
obvious
they go to
place.
Henry's. Where else would they
Exactly,
take a fugitive? Every fugitive they have taken Nigel's Tank Nigel there, they have taken
and will
several people
continue to.
have gone to
Mhm.
Henry's. Yeah, yeah, Henry's house is like the, safe
So Henry
destination.
does eventually come home while they're hiding out there, and Sean is struggling to find a cover for Tankana, and he tells Henry that he's an old camp counselor called Whitefeather. And I thought that this was a reference to something, and I found a movie from 1955 called Whitefeather, but I don't think it's a connected, like, I don't think it's a reference. I think it just is coincidence. But as far as I
Yeah.
know, this is the first mention of Camp Tikihama, and Sean leaves Henry with Tankana in the kitchen for them to just have a really awkward conversation, that eventually turns into a interrogation. But I love that this
And
is
during
how
this whole scene
Tikihama I so hope that this is how Tikihama was created. Like, I hope in the writers' room, they were like, "Just Camp Tikihama, Tiki Mama Jama, whatever, Tikihama." And then they ended up later on like, "We
Mhm.
should do a camp episode, like, making fun of slashers like Jason." "Oh, we had that camp before. What was that camp called? Camp Tikihama." I so hope that that's how that went. I mean, it's fine if they planned out the episodes like that, but I so hope they did that.
Can I just say I always thought it was Camp
Oh, no, it's
Tikihana.
Hama. It's definitely Hama.
I didn't
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't
Camp
I didn't see anyway.
Tikihama, oh, what
During
you
this whole
are.
scene while while they're at Henry's house, Gus is so distraught about the phone being wet. Like, he is trying everything. I'm not plugging this in until it's totally there's no moisture in it,
Well, it's
Sean.
because he's almost
Like,
died
I
several
he's
times,
just
and
worried about the
today, and he
phone.
doesn't want to die by
Yeah.
electric shock from a shorting a cell phone.
Well, right. Right. Well, Henry is pretty sure that this guy is not
Well,
a camp
specifically
counselor.
because when he's talking about how awesome Sean was when he was a kid, a real stickler for the rules, a real team player,
Oh,
Henry's like,
yeah.
"Wait, wait,
So,
this guy's
Sean.
never met my kid." He starts kind of doing a little
Mhm.
subtle interrogation. He eventually asks him about the camp song.
Well, the guy tells him that he wrote
Or yeah, he was like
songs
a
for the
music
camp. Like,
teacher or something. Yeah, yeah.
he did the music instruction
Mhm.
and theater. So Henry is trying to get him to sing. He tries
So
to get him to sing.
he makes him like he's like sing, come on, sing, and then Tinkana's like no, no, I don't remember, and then he's like sing now, and he forces Tinkana to sing, and
Mhm.
Tinkana is making up this like camp song for Camp Tikihama, and I love how it also ends up being the real song for Camp Tikihama. Yeah, it's just a funny scene watching him make it up.
Well, while they're in the other room, though, they're actually finding the
Yes.
next
Mhm.
clue. And the next clue is something about Meadow Park, which they figure out is actually Meadow
Right, which
Parking
is an underground
Garage.
parking garage locally. At
Right.
3156, um, we do have our pineapple spotting. Although, while it
Yes.
while I do like that they did add it, it wasn't hidden, and I much rather would have actually preferred them. If you look at the column in the background, it has like cherries on it. I would much rather them switched it because that's how they do it. Like at Disney, they have like the Goofy parking lot, the Donald Duck parking lot. Here, apparently, they have like fruits,
Yeah.
and I would love for them to have hidden it. I I like the
I
hide.
disagree
I like
with
the
you.
hide.
Yeah, but I don't like when I have to watch the episode so closely, like everything behind it. I don't wanna have to rewind it
You
and
don't
watch it
always
again,
have to
only
do
watching
that.
what's in the background to try
There's
and
a
find it.
balance, a happy medium. There is a happy medium,
Yeah, I liked it like this. And truthfully, they're just driving in, so if you're watching the car, you kind of probably could have missed it. It wasn't on the screen for long.
but it was literally
So,
like it
I
was like
disagree
half
with
the
you about
screen when
that.
it was on screen.
I almost like when it's a little bit in your face because then it's like, you know it was there.
But
I don't know. We're
that's
gonna feel
something. Let
differently. We're
us
gonna
know,
agree to
guys. Do
disagree
you
on that.
prefer the pineapples to be sort of hidden or sort of in your face? Post.
Yeah.
um, so
Yeah,
next thing
okay.
though, when they're in the garage, they end up like driving around the garage looking for clues, and they just find Del Vecchio's body there in the garage. Sean gets out and
Mhm.
starts like looking at the body. Gus won't get out of the car because he won't go near bodies.
No, 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 no. No, no, no. It's not even just that he won't get out of the car. He is rolling up his
Oh yeah.
window. And like, they're not automatic windows. Like, he's
Mhm.
rolling up his window and he says, "No, no touching dead bodies, Sean." Like, he's
Yeah.
like, I'm
Mhm.
out. That's it." He was so like, rolling up the window was funny to me. I always like seeing people in TV shows or movies do that because nobody has,
Manual
like,
windows anymore.
most cars have
Mhm.
power windows. Like, you don't have a wind up, right? So he's winding up the window with
Yeah.
vigor. It was funny.
But at this scene, they have Tankana there, and Sean's out investigating. Tankana's in the car still, and Bird just pulls up out of nowhere, takes Tankana gets out of the car and runs essentially right to Bird, which I didn't really like.
Why did he do that? That
Plot
bugged
armor.
me. I was like, he ran directly to
I call it
him.
plot armor. But yeah, so he ran to him, and Bird was like, he drove in, grabbed him, and drove out like lickety split. And Sean's still over investigating it, and he's just like, okay, that just happened. And then he just gets back to investigating, and he stumbles upon this smell that he knows, and he identifies it after help from the super sniffer as the ginger blossoms,
Mhm.
which then links to kangaroo paste.
He finally gets Gus
Mhm.
to participate in figuring out
Right.
what it
So he
is.
smells the kangaroo
And once
paste on his
Gus
hands.
realizes it's a right, but once he realized it, I liked how once Gus realized that it was a super sniffer issue, he was in. The window was all the way down and he's like, "Okay, okay." Like, it made him happy that he was gonna be the super sniffer here. I thought it was funny.
After he smells the kangaroo paste on Delvecchio's hands, Sean knows what's going on here, but he needs Tankana back first. So they come up with a plan to try and
Yeah.
trick Bird into giving him back Tankana by bluffing about hidden cash that they found from what Tankana told him, like from one of their jobs. The general idea is that they want to buy Tankana from Bird with the money that they dug up. And Bird ends up like so they do the trade. He essentially tells them that there's like 4
And they're
times as
right
much what
outside
they're
the
gonna
police
get.
station.
And they do the trade. Bird finds out that he's been tricked, and he pulls a gun on him right there.
Now, can we just add that they're right outside the police
Yeah, they're on
station
the
front
steps.
door when
Mhm.
they're doing this exchange? And another funny thing is, as they're talking to him about this exchange, they're trying to decide whether or not it's a briefcase or an attaché, and they end up deciding on attaché because it has a better ring to it, but then they change it to briefcase because attaché sounds too, what did they call it? Um, oh my gosh.
Bougie, like
Too
mm.
hoity-toity, like too, yeah. Anyway, that was a really funny little bit. I'm surprised you didn't comment on that, Matt.
I was trying not to comment on every single little joke that they get into, but on that
Well,
note,
it's funny,
yeah.
like, we need to note it because of what
Oh, yeah.
happens in a
Mhm.
minute. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Juliet and Lassiter come out. Bird winks at them too, and Juliet finds it weird. And then Lassiter does arrest Bird, and he calls the briefcase a satchel. And Sean's like, yeah,
And Sean's like, "I didn't even
yeah.
think of satchel."
Sean almost forgets, like after all the excitement, that things aren't what they seem with this case. Lassiter and Juliet are taking Tankana and Bird in to like essentially be arrested, and Sean like chases him back in, and he's like, "Wait! This isn't done yet. I almost forgot." And Sean is claiming that. So for the wrap up, so this is where Sean does his wrap up. He claims that the murderer was actually Mr. Cole all along, and that he used the break-in as an opportunity to murder his wife and pin it on the burglars. He then knocked himself out with a vase as an alibi. Delvecchio then witnessed it through Delvecchio
Like he
then
was behind
witnessed it because
curtains.
he was hiding in the house when it happened, and he took the necklace as proof of as of what happened when she died. Cole didn't know that Tankana was in the house either. Delvecchio tried to blackmail Cole, and he got paid off. That's the reason why they found the torn up money bands in the houseboat. But he came back for more, and Cole just wasn't having it anymore. So Cole killed Delvecchio, and during the struggle, Delvecchio put his hands in like Cole's hair, and that's how the kangaroo paste got on there. Cole slipped up when Juliet told him that they would check the cameras in the garage, and he's like, "There are no cameras in that garage," and that's when Lassie had what
Mhm.
he needed to, at the very least, just arrest him.
He was
hmm
busted.
But as Lassiter hauls
Mhm.
Tankana off, like he's taking him back down to the jail cells, Tankana yells back at Sean, "Vest looks good," which kind of gives him that like bounty hunter validation. Like I trust you guys, thank you.
Mhm.
So that was cool. And then they also did mention like
Yeah.
the two Tankana before Lassiter took him off was hey, well burglary is better than murder, right? So yeah, and then Lassiter's like, "What are you guys friends now?" They spent a lot of time together. It was nice.
They did, and I swear, he
hmm
got a kick out of them, he really did. Well, Sean in particular liked him because he was letting him be something that he wanted to
Yeah.
be. It was cool,
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
But
cool. It
this
was
is the
cool.
scene that we were talking about earlier. This
Oh,
next scene,
yes.
after we've got the wrap up done, Barb, why don't you tell us a little bit about this scene?
Oh, I will tell you about this scene,
This
Matthew. I
falls
will
under
tell you
your
about this
domain.
scene. Okay. So, Sean and Jules are at the station, there's, like, nobody else there. They're talking. He puts his hand on her shoulder. Oh my gosh, it's so I can't even. So, then he goes in to kiss her. They stop and they're like a quarter of an inch away from each other. Like, their mouths are right there. And he calls it close very close talking. And they talk about it for a minute, how they think it would be a mistake.
Juliet thinks it would be a mistake.
Well, but then he kind of agrees with her.
Just to make her feel better.
Yeah, and then she says Do you have anything else to say? And she's not moving away. She is in no way moving away from him. They stayed this close the whole time. And he makes this, he like purses his lips a little bit, and goes, hmm. So he does
Yeah, I saw a
kiss
little bit
her.
of a
There's
kiss there.
contact.
I saw some contact. Yeah,
Yes. And then he's like,
with the upper
no,
lip at least.
yeah. He says, no, I think I'm good for now. Okay. Okay. A couple things happen after that. So Sean walks away. And the look on his face, he is like so happy. He is very, very happy that that moment happened. And then Jules is like, she kind of makes this like weird face, like, why did that make me feel the way that it did? And then she starts, like, she is visibly like bothered by that
Mhm.
in a good way. And then like starts timing herself with her gun again.
She's doing the field
She's like,
stripping.
she's trying to get rid of the anxiety or like, oh my goodness, what just happened here? And this was it, people. This was it. The seed has been planted here between the two of them. Okay. This is it. This is, oh my gosh. This was like the best moment that they have had. I was so happy during this scene. This is when I will rewind and watch this scene again because it was very, very like intimate without, they didn't even really kiss each other. It was amazing. Really, really good scene. Really good scene. It's my
You like
favorite.
that
That's how
one?
they ended the show. It was so good. It was so
Hmm.
good. You guys, seriously, it was so good.
All right, Barb. So let's talk general thoughts on the episode. So let's
Okay.
start off with what is your pineapple rating for episode 9, Bounty Hunters?
Okay. My pineapple rating, I've gone back and forth about this a little bit.
Me too.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you that it's between 3 and 4.
Same for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. We
All
are
right.
agreeing way too much here lately. All right. So I lean toward 3 because I do feel like some of it was sloppy. I also feel like there was not a moment in this particular episode. There were a lot of little moments that made me like giggle, but there were not a lot of there's one moment like in my favorite episodes that makes me laugh to the point that I am like I have to pause the TV and I'm crying. This episode did not have that. However, it gets the 4 for me. Well, let me focus on the 3 for
Yep,
another
I
second.
saw this coming.
So, okay, so the other part of the 3 is like the slappiness on the boat. The like, I don't know, I just felt hmm. It wasn't my favorite storyline, I'll put it that way. The plot was not my favorite one. Okay, but the 4 pineapples comes into play when you talk about how they have now set up Juliet and
Last like
Sean.
30 seconds.
Well, no, it really went on throughout the entire episode. It started with him feeling bad for her and wanting to do something to make it right for her.
Mhm.
And then like he gets protective about Jules and you saw it from the very beginning. Then it was him putting his hand on her shoulder. And then it was him putting his hand on her hand in the diner. And then it was like it progressed throughout the episode and it was almost like at the end he just couldn't take it anymore. He just wants her to know how he feels about her, like really. And so I like the groundwork
Well,
here.
for
So
reference, you don't have any other 4 pineapples for season 2. You have
yeah,
3 5 pineapples and
mhm,
2 3 pineapples.
I'm going 4.
You're going
I gotta
4?
go 4. Yes, it weighs
Okay.
out to me for me, it weighs out that that is an important enough part of the storyline and the arc of the show that it's gonna raise it up to 4 for me. Where do you fit on this? How many pineapples do you give it?
It's a very hard one.
I know, right?
I don't know. This is a hard one for me. I'm between 3 and 4 pineapples. Referencing my past for season 2, I have 2 5 pineapples, and then I have 2 4 pineapples. The other 4 pineapples are from 65 million years off, and meat is murder, but murder is also murder. And I really, I enjoyed those ones a lot. Is this one the same as those? I mean, had this one had a lot. We had a fake name in it, and that was a fun little scene with the guys. We had
Yes.
tons of little jokes sprinkled throughout, and it was just all
Mhm.
great, like interaction between all the characters. And it was all the characters this time too. We had a
No, there
little
was
bit of
no Chief
everybody.
Vic.
Well,
Chief Vic was not there.
I don't have, I don't not like Chief Vic, but her character's sternness aside from the few times when she's a little jokey with them, her sternness, while it is necessary with her being the chief of the police officers, is not as conducive with the silliness of Sean and Gus that I like. So Chief Vic is not my favorite character,
Okay.
but
I like
all
that
of
she's
the
pretty
people that I
balanced.
love are in this one. I think. Oh no, I don't think we got any McNabb in this one, did we?
Yeah, McNabb was in it. He
Was he?
didn't do a lot in it, but he was there. Visibly, he was there.
Okay,
In
at
the
least we get to, as
station.
long as we get to see McNabb a little bit,
Yeah, he was
I
there.
like that. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with 4 on this one. I think
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 4 pineapples.
Wow.
Comparing it to the other ones I gave 4 pineapples, I think this one might actually have a little, like, a few more jokes as well as character development than 65 million years off. Because I mean, there's some
Mhm.
small scenes with Lassiter and Juliet that you get in this one where they're standing up for each other, where
Mhm. They're
they're
working together.
working
Yeah.
together, they see each other as equals. Like, I just really loved some of that interaction between them.
Mhm.
So, and it's the little things too. So I think I'm gonna give this one 4 pineapples.
Okay. I
I
like it.
like it.
We very rarely agree. This is
Yeah, I
I
know.
like when this happens.
This was one of
Kind
those,
of
like,
fun.
middle of the road ones where,
Yeah.
like, it could go either way. It definitely was at least a 3 star, and it definitely was at least a 3 pineapple, and, it just
Yeah.
leans a little much. I mean, for different reasons. Um, the Juliet thing is nice, but it doesn't weigh as heavily for me as it is for you.
Oh, no, it's big. It's big for me.
I mean, the
Yeah.
whole thing with, like, the criminals get in our car already cuffed, like, we're the best bounty hunters ever, like, that was such a funny scene.
So I'm gonna say that's your favorite quote, right?
Probably, yeah. I think that'll
Okay.
hold up as my favorite quote, probably.
I think I have to agree with you on that.
It was just a
Good.
really good
That was a
scene.
good one. What, did you have a come on son moment?
I believe I had one of everything this time. I enjoyed this, I actually got lots from it.
I have 2.
Okay,
So, the first one for me was when Lassie sidelines Jules. I'm like, "Really? Don't sideline her."
okay. That's a valid come on, so mine came before that. Mine was when she's doing her talk, because I felt so uncomfortable for her when she was talking to the whole, like, precinct,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
and that's when I went around the corner. I should have stopped and waited for him to get done tying his shoe, but I went on ahead. Like,
Mhm.
I felt bad for her in that moment, and that was my
Mhm.
come on, son. Like, ugh, does she really need to
Well,
be berated publicly? Like,
I had another one.
no, no. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
was a good one, and that one attaches, to mine as well. So I just didn't
Well,
think about having a second one. So,
my second one was at the end when they don't actually kiss each other.
oh yeah,
Like,
or
come on.
maybe that's a wait for it.
Well, wait for it, Matt, because my wait for it moment in this episode is the last scene.
Okay, all right.
That's my wait for it moment. That
Now, were
is
you
wait
waiting for the last scene to come, or is your wait for it that last scene?
No,
Like,
the
what
wait for
happens
it is
next?
the last scene,
Okay,
like, come
all right.
on. Okay, did you have a wait for it moment?
I I did, but it was a little less specific. It was about 23, 21. I think it was the diner scene.
Mhm.
Wondering when Juliet, like, when was she gonna get her mojo back? Like, what was she gonna have to do to get
Oh,
back on, like, to get her confidence back and to get her head straight again?
okay.
Like, was she gonna have to catch Cantana? Was something gonna happen, Tancana, or was something gonna happen? So that
Mhm.
was what I put, was wait for it to see what happens with her thread.
Okay.
Mhm.
Alright, what about an "Aw, yeah" moment?
39 minutes 50 seconds in, when Juliet tricks Cole into admitting on about the cameras in the garage. That was mine.
Yeah,
I
that's a
like that
good
because that
one.
was when she got her mojo back. Like, she was like, as soon as she did that, like, she's like, "Oh, I can set this guy up now." That's okay. We'll just check the cameras in the garage. There were no cameras in that garage. Really? So I like that. That was a
Yeah,
good one for me.
that's a good one. My "Aw, yeah" moment was the last scene when Sean tried to kiss her. That
Ah,
was
all of your
everything for
moments
me.
seem to be about
Yeah,
one
yeah,
specific, like, 30-second scene. Okay.
it fit every single one of them for me. Every single one. Okay. Did you have a Henry lesson?
Kind of.
Okay.
1 minute in, if you
Mhm.
want to arrest somebody, you do it with the right way, with a badge. When he
Yes.
was talking about not liking bounty hunters.
Yep. I'm with you on that. We got the silly nickname of Galileo Humpkins.
As well as we already identified the pineapple, 31 minutes, 56 seconds in the parking
Mhm.
garage on the column.
Oh, and also we did get a Gus don't be a in this episode. Did you catch that? He said,
No.
Gus, don't be a little girl about this.
Is it the same thing?
Yes, it is.
It was in the
Whenever
same
he says
context?
a Gus don't be a, he puts something there. It's a Gus don't be a, I'm telling you. We already know your
Okay.
favorite quote. How about some pop culture references? So Kevin Sorbo, he's the first one. He started acting in 1986. He played the bounty hunter in this episode. Oddly enough, he got his start on a soap opera called Santa Barbara. Interesting tidbit. Most famous for playing Hercules all through the 90s. He's done a lot of TV like Dharma and Greg, Andromeda, The OC, Supergirl, and many more. He is still acting a lot. Um, in fact, when I looked him up on IMDb, he has over 14 upcoming projects right now. He's still very busy. He's working. He's working a lot. The next one that I have is Sean Cassidy. This was referring to the Sean Cassidy hair. Sean Cassidy was a teen heartthrob, best known for his role in the Hardy Boys from 1977 to 79. He's only had about 12 acting credits. He did also do some singing, the Do Run Run song. I don't know if you ever heard that, but anyway, that was a big deal for him. But he was always in all the teen magazines through the 80s, like very, very popular. And he is still producing now. He doesn't act anymore, but he does a lot of producing. Tango and Cash was the next reference. That was a 1989 box office hit starring Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. Judge Reinhold was also mentioned. He started acting in 1979. He did some TV, but really started working in movies in the 80s. And man, was he in some popular movies. He was in Stripes with Bill Murray in 1981. In 1982, he was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. In 1984, it was a double good year for him. He was in Gremlins and Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. So he's done quite a few things and has continued to act like throughout the years. He's still working. Letterman was referenced. You probably all know that Letterman was a famous talk show host from 1993 to 2015. One of my favorite references in this movie was Patrick Swayze. He was an amazing movie actor, started acting in 1979. I think his big break was really in The Outsiders from in 1983 with a whole slew of other great actors, Rob Lowe, Tom Cruise, Ralph Macchio. I mean, there were so many, C. Thomas Howell. There were so many really good actors cast in that movie. So that was a really big deal at the time. He went on to become a really great leading man as well in movies like Red Dawn in 1984, Dirty Dancing in 1987, Roadhouse in 89, Ghost in 1990, and many more. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2009 after a battle with cancer. But
Who
man,
did?
was he a good actor. Patrick Swayze?
Swayze died?
In 2009, honey, he
Oh,
had a
wow.
really
I
long
didn't know
battle.
that.
I believe it was pancreatic cancer, if I'm not mistaken, and it was really very sad, but he did some just classic movies, classics.
Mhm.
And so we were all just everybody was sad when he passed, but apparently Matt didn't even realize it. That rock he was living under in 2009, kept it from. Okay, we also get a mention of Sam Elliott here. He's also such a good actor. He's actually Oscar nominated. He started acting in 1967 and acted in things like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, and then went on to do like he did a lot of television, like Gunsmoke, things like that. But in 1985, he was in the movie The Mask with Cher, and that was an amazing movie. He was also in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, a Tombstone in 1993, The Big Lebowski in 98, and recently he was in The Ranch on Netflix. And also A Star Is Born, the remake with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, and he was really great in that movie as well. He has been just acting nonstop throughout his career. and has had a really great career. They also mentioned Open Water. That was a 2003 movie about scuba divers. It was based on a true story about scuba divers that are stranded in shark-infested water. There was a mention when they were talking about the camp names of Tiki Barber. Tiki Barber was an NFL player for the Giants, and he was a running back. And then they also mentioned Han Solo action figures. We all know that Han Solo is a Star Wars character played by Harrison Ford. And then I did find something interesting about kangaroo paste. So if you look up kangaroo paste online, it will bring you to a page talks about the reference in Psych. There's a hair product brand or line called Aussie, and so that was like maybe what this was based on. I don't know. And it has a very distinctive smell. So I don't know if that's what they based it off of, but they do talk about it being referenced in this episode of Bounty Hunters. It was interesting that there was something about Psych when you look this up. I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of cool. That's all I have, Matt. What do you have to add to that? I'm hoping we're going to get some Fall Guy information.
There was 2 other movies that you didn't hit.
Really?
Yeah, like they're quick ones.
Tell me.
Um, so the first one was at 17 minutes 53 seconds in, Dead Calm. Dead Calm is a 1989 Australian
Oh,
psychological
yes.
thriller horror film. It also starred Billy Zane and Nicole Kidman. It was between Sean and Gus, and he also referenced Billy Zane, which was from that.
And
Um,
wasn't Alec Baldwin in that? Was that Alec Baldwin? No?
I don't have the full
Am
actors
I
list. It
wrong?
just pulled
Okay.
those. I'm assuming probably not if he wasn't in this part of it. Midnight Run, 2004. It's a 1988 American action comedy film directed by Martin Brest and starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin, and it was about bounty hunters, like hunting down somebody.
Hmm.
The last one is The Fall Guys is an American action adventure television program, and it came out in 1981, and it went on for, was that 5 years? It starred Lee Majors, Douglas Barr, Heather Thomas as Hollywood stunt performers who moonlight as bounty hunters. So, kind of perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah,
good reference. That was a good reference.
yeah, it actually was a good reference knowing about Fall Guys. Like, it's 3 obvious stuntmen, and the
Yeah.
episode's about bounty hunters. So, yeah, not bad.
Hmm.
Not bad at all.
Very good.
All right. Well, Barb, how does this episode hold up over time for you?
I would think that it would be a little bit easier to track people nowadays with the technology that we have
It's valid.
versus what they had then. I don't know. I mean, I guess it holds up. It holds up. Even though I gave it 4 pineapples, I was on the verge of 3, so it's not my favorite storyline, but I would not turn this episode off based on that. So, I mean, I'm going to say it holds up pretty well.
Yeah. While it might have been easier to do certain things, um, I didn't feel weird about it.
Hmm.
It didn't really bother me at all. So there wasn't a bunch of like CRT TVs everywhere and like I don't know, reams and reams of like printer paper that were like the
Right.
old fax style printers. Like it wasn't anything too obnoxious. So yeah, I thought it held up great. I thought that the case, while it wasn't the focus point of the episode, I thought that it was interesting enough, and the clue dispersal rate was pretty good, and it made sense. It didn't feel like they were hiding details from you. You kind of picked them up as you go. So I liked
Right.
it. I thought it held up pretty well.
And I do think that they did a good job of just keeping the storyline moving the whole time. So I'll give them that too.
On next week's episode, we're going to be discussing season 2, episode 10, and that one is Gus's dad may have killed an old guy.
A
I'm looking
Christmas
forward to this one.
episode.
I'm really bummed that we can't time these out to get Christmas episodes at Christmas, but
Yeah.
it is
Well,
exciting nonetheless.
okay. It will kind of be Christmassy because, as you know, by then, Hallmark will be playing Christmas movies 24/7, Matt.
I mean, it's going to drop on November 2nd. So,
Right. So
yeah.
October 22nd is when the Hallmark movies for Christmas begin. So it's going to feel my house will be decorated already. So it will already feel Christmassy for me. So I
I
mean,
can't wait for Christmas season. I love it. Christmas
me
spirit is
too.
amazing, and I'm excited for it. We don't have all the details yet, but we will talk about it whenever it happens. But we are going to be doing a special little episode review of Psych 3 This Is Gus when it comes out. It releases on November 18th, and we are going to make sure that we have time to watch it and post a little review video up. We might try and do something special for it. So we will, let you guys know once we have more decisions on that.
And something we forgot to mention at the top of the show was that we hope that some of you guys got to see the panel interview that they did virtually from Comic-Con.
Hmm.
That was it was pretty cool. So if you haven't seen that, I'm sure you can see it somewhere online, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, you can
So
go to YouTube, you
yeah,
can see the panel, then you can jump over to our channel, subscribe, see the
exactly.
interview that we have with Sage Brocklebank, check all of our other podcasts that you might have missed.
Exactly.
So yeah, just do the
Yeah.
whole thing. Just do the whole thing while you're there. Just do the whole thing.
So
But yeah,
be sure to check out our Facebook group and subreddit in the links that are below.
yeah, we got it all. So
And you
anywhere that
can
you use, we are
Mhm.
on there, and we drop information occasionally about when we drop episodes and whatnot. So
And you
look
can
us up.
also email us at thepsychpodcast@gmail.com if you have any comments or anything to say about what we had to say about this episode, just hit us up there.
Yep.
But otherwise, guys, thanks for joining us again, and we hope you have a great week.
Hmm. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.